alienated.
And before we start, I'd like to
most of
say
the time not on the
congratulations
street,
to everyone on their victories.
100% vote for Cindy Cooper.
I know. It's fantastic.
This is your papers
For tonight. Oh, this one's.
Yeah.
You're good. Right, good evening. Welcome to the Sunbury, Ohio City Council meeting. It is November 3rd, 2021, 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me for a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance?
Amen.
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Joe St. John.
Here.
Damon Capel.
Here.
Greg Elliott.
Here.
Tim Ghost.
Here.
Martin Fisher is absent. David Martin.
Here.
Cindy Cooper. Here. 6 present.
We have a meeting on October 20th, 2021. We will need to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Dave Martin.
Second.
Second by Damon Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
David Martin.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
6 yeas.
We're on to the visitor section of the meeting. Do we have any visitors that would like to speak with council this evening? All right. We're on to committee reports. Mr. David Martin, we'll start with you.
I don't have any committee reports.
Mrs. Cooper.
Nothing tonight.
All right. Mr. Capel.
We had a very productive services meeting prior to this meeting. Discussed, among other things, our OPWC proposal that we're putting together, as well as streetscaping ideas that we'll discuss in the future, and maybe finally putting to bed some of our tree ideas with tree maintenance in the estates and in the mills. Steve is going to be setting up a meeting with the residents in the Sunbury Estates area to go over some of the plans and ideas that we have for that. So I don't think I'm forgetting anything super important.
Anything on sidewalks yet? Anything further there?
With the estates?
The estates.
Yeah, so we discussed a couple plans that we're going to present to the residents in the area. Of course, the default is the ordinance, which places the financial burden on the homeowners themselves. So the real discussion is about to what extent Sunbury is going to take care of the street trees and repair the sidewalks that are damaged by the trees. And if the residents are interested in the potential for saving some of the trees by meandering the sidewalks around the trees. And we saw some pictures of a meandering sidewalk. I don't know, maybe I'm the only one who has never seen this done before. It was definitely new to me. But Steve's gonna get in touch with the residents, set up some kind of a meeting. And I'm sure if some folks want to attend that, that would be a possibility.
Sounds good.
That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Ghost.
Yeah, we just had, thank you, Joe. We just had Parks meeting prior to this meeting this evening, and a few things we discussed there. Touch on them briefly. The Lions Club representative was here, Mr. John Gray. I think he was the president or VP of the Lions Club, along with Chris Heller, I think is the secretary. And they are working on getting some estimates together for doing some repairs and renovation work over there. So it's probably another month away yet. And they're going to submit that to Steve. And then we'll discuss again at the next meeting what kind of collaboration and partnership we can work up with that. So it was all positive. Talked about the rental policy for the town hall, keyless locks and security, surveillance and lighting in J.R. Smith Park, Steve is working on some more estimates. We got a pretty good idea where we're headed there, but now the focus is more on security and surveillance and lighting as with the total package. Bleachers, J.R. Smith Park. Grab my notes here. I think Steve was working on this. He had about $16,000, I believe, to repair and bring up to code the current bleachers over there. The other option was, I think, in the neighborhood of $9,000 to replace it, going with, I think, just four
rows high.
Four rows. So that does not require all of the fencing and safety stuff to be installed.
We're talking about the aluminum bleachers.
Yes.
Those are $16,000.
To repair.
To just,
bring it to
I'll let Steve. Go ahead, Steve.
The current bleacher set that's on the north side of the park where the press box, if you want to call it that, is located, it's $16,000 to repair them to be compliant with the International Building Code. Because of their height, you have to contain the ends, you have to contain the back, you have to contain the other end, and then put in, handrails for people. So when I first with a little bit of sticker shock, then was I need to investigate the why, and then it was, okay, are there different ways to manage this risk? And one way to manage the risk is 30-inch and below bleachers, which we can get up to 4 seats in a 30-inch style of bleacher, does not require all that additional fall protection type thing. So then it was more a question of retrofit those current bleachers versus buy new that are compliant. And then the last step was we thought we needed to talk with football folks about, how many people, what is their true need for seating over there? Right now it's about 300 seats. This would yield us about 200 seats, still probably more than adequate, but we want to definitely check and make sure that that's a adequate capacity for what they've seen during their league this fall.
Yeah, so I think the general consensus in parks with us was to pursue the lesser cost $9,000 option, which gives us new equipment and a longer lifespan. So the question is, will the football folks agree with that, and having one less row, or going from 300 to maybe 200 capacity? So that's.
I don't know if they would agree to it if we're going to pay for it.
Yeah.
So
Well, that was the other thing, and maybe we talked about maybe approaching them for some assistance, maybe.
okay, yeah, I think that's a good idea. Also, if I'm not mistaken, wasn't some of this stuff vandalized? I mean, those aluminum bleachers I know on what would be the south side of J.R. Smith, that was not from somebody sitting on the
No,
bleacher.
there's some that are bent where they were somehow, somebody either jumped on them or had a baseball bat or something and put some dents in them.
I agree with the concept of you drive down through, an alley and there's broken windows and you don't fix them and more of that happens. But I'm also a little bit apprehensive, and $9,000 grand scheme of things isn't a lot of money, but it's a good amount of money. And we've always talked about kind of doing something different with J.R. Smith Park anyways.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of many, Sunbury, other than the football organization, I don't know of other folks that are really using that.
Right.
But the other question.
Not that it's not a park or it's important, but.
The other question is, if it's owned by the village and it's not in compliance with the organization, we're liable.
Yeah.
If somebody gets hurt on those bleachers, watching a football game and falls off the top row or something like that, that causes a liability issue for the village.
Yeah, from that standpoint, we're now sort of on notice and aware of a sort of liability condition over there that we need to take action on in a reasonable time frame. So
They
that's,
play lacrosse down there too now.
yeah.
Okay, what I'm saying is we need to deter theft and vandalism in that area through lighting, surveillance,
Mhm.
either like trying to encourage a lot more activity there.
Yeah.
Or I don't think we should be pouring money into a place that's constantly being vandalized and spray painted and all these other things.
Yeah, I think that's first step. And Steve, I think for our next meeting, we'll have some more info on the surveillance and the lighting and the key access as well.
Yeah, that was part of our discussion during, was the lighting and surveillance and the issues that need to be addressed. So, yeah.
Right. Thank you.
And anything more on that, Steve, you want to add?
No, I guess this discussion does bring up a no-build option, which would be we take them out and don't replace them, and we'll have a concrete pad. People can bring their own camp chairs and watch the game. You know, there is a no-build option.
Yeah, I think that's something maybe we pose that question to football folks.
Okay.
Yeah, let's see what they have to say. Okay, only other thing there, actually, the next item, something we wanted to get council's input and guidance on, an expenditure here that has arisen this last week or so. I think Mr. Mayor may be aware of it, but we have park benches that have become available. About 9 of those benches, they're the real nice looking ones, composite material. Facemeyer, our vendor for the Reservoir Project, has them available. $7,940 for 9 benches. That's about $882 a bench. Excuse me. They also offer to install them for about $350 each. That works out to be about $3,285 in labor, a total of $11,000. However, during our discussion, we felt like, number one, it'd be a great idea to buy the benches, keep them in storage until we decide what we want to do with them. We certainly have demand for those with the reservoir path and the other paths we're constructing. And then perhaps have Brad's crew, when the time presents itself, do the installation. So the question is, how do you feel about that? And number one, do we want to buy the benches, $7,940? What's the proper step? And
Somebody out there have a comment? Tim, I didn't have a chance to read through your entire email, and I did hear the pricing, but I missed the whole ball on what the benches are for and kind of how this all came about. Is this for the reservoir, or is this for the Fallen Heroes Trail?
well, it can be. It's up to us what we want it to be for. I think we need to target the reservoir first. And we also have a funding mechanism over there with that project. We have a contingency fund balance, according to Mr. Parkinson, of about $14,000 available.
Do we have to spend that? We don't have to spend.
No, but it's been allocated.
Right.
So
Right.
How much are the benches?
benches are $7,940. That's 9 benches,
$800 a bench.
882.
How wide is the
That
bench?
includes freight. And Mr. Parkinson, I'm not sure how they came about. You may know some more history on that.
To Mr. Elliott, they're 6 feet long. Facemeyer is doing another park project somewhere around here, and they have 9 extra benches.
We'll take them.
They either ordered 9 too many, or the owner decided he didn't want the benches and said, send them back.
That's the part of the story I didn't get.
Whatever.
What the urgency was around buying benches
Yeah.
right now.
I'm sorry.
We had
So-
talked.
Should have given me some background on
So if
that.
we don't want to buy them, then he's going to return them. And so right now they're just sitting there in his shop.
With retail on them, that's my question.
He tells us that was his cost.
Yeah, includes freight. These are I've looked at them, and they're the same ones that are consistent with what you see on a Preservation Parks trail. I mean, they're good stuff, good high quality stuff. They'll last 20, 30 years, I would think.
They're powder coated aluminum, sturdy, and they're composite wood planks.
Only thing I would ask for is some type of a submittal sheet? And if he's willing to share his invoice with us,
The,
did you get that?
yeah, the cut sheet was provided.
Greg, I can't hear you. Would you?
Sorry,
That's all right.
so- some type of a submittal or cut sheet, and then if he's willing to share his actual invoice with us, just so we're not paying over retail. If that's not, if he would do that.
Yeah, I'm sure that wouldn't be a problem.
Is there something about the benches?
What's the time frame they need a decision?
Couple of weeks, I think, isn't it?
He didn't give me a drop dead date other than he's anxious to figure out what he needs to do with them.
Yeah.
He probably paid for them, which is why they got delivered. And so
Right.
I'll reach out to him.
And what's the color scheme? I saw they had multiple colors.
I think they are green on the sides, dark green, like a forest
Like a
dark
hunter
green,
green or something.
and then sort of a medium tan composite look. I mean, it's almost exactly what you see on the Pres Parks Trail. Higher class, good looking stuff. It's less than $10,000. That's within the mayor's authority. But again, we do have, just to let you know, we do have some allocation there with the contingency on the reservoir project too. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
Anything, Mr. Elliott?
Yes, we had a planning and zoning meeting October 25th. Two topics mainly for discussion was Mormon investment properties. Gentleman is expanding on his building off of Kintner Parkway and Sunbury Commerce Park, where the Romanelli Group presented some commercial, should change the industrial district to commercial, to put in a use commercial type building on the face of Granville Street, and then potentially apartments in behind the Pulte development. Lots of public activity during the meeting. I think almost 20 people spoke. Is that correct? During it, mainly opposed to it. But I think there's probably more concern about putting anything there, whether it's industrial or commercial. We really got to come to a resolution on what and how and when. But Romanelli is coming back in December we tabled the discussions, and we're coming back in December. We also tabled the discussions with Mormon Investments because of some issues with screening and paving in the back of the property. So more to come on those two developments.
Thank you, sir. I'll add a little bit of color. I mean, for having the Romanelli development come forward, we knew there was a 600 virtual signature petition. We probably had 40 people in the audience and people outside the hallway. Over 20 people spoke, but it was very orderly, I would say, very civil. Mrs. Cooper attended as a resident. Greg and I were both on the board, and the dialogue was very professional both ways. In near real time, as you can in those types of settings, the developer was responding to residents' concerns. And to Greg's point, I think the responses were somewhat all over the board. Everything from I don't want industrial, I don't want commercial, I don't want apartments, I don't want houses, to maybe I could live with condominiums, maybe I could live with age restricted, but it'd be great if it stays a field. And if you owned that land, I think you'd be in kind of the same thought, like, okay, how can we make this work? And that's what they're going to do over the next 2 months, is try to come back that works for the community and works for the economics of the developer. So I have. All right, we're on to police report, and I don't believe we have a police report. Do we have any questions for the police this evening?
There's no police report.
Okay.
I can answer any questions you have. Please, I'll try.
I'm wondering, the signs, the radar signs, we bought them, put them up.
Yeah.
Have we seen anything as far as speeding deterrents? I don't know if you know.
The sample's probably a little too small. I know the one I've seen is on Heartland Meadows Drive. I've also seen the one over here on Columbus Street, kind of by Berg Fitness, the barbecue place. I mean, that's one area that has notoriously been kind of an area where you can accelerate and pick up speed. One thing that I do want to start, I'll give you this real quick. The battery life is lasting twice as long as the previous ones, the new ones, which is great.
Which is how long generally?
They're set right now, at least in those two locations, it expands the speed you're at over 25 miles per hour. I think it's something like 6 days now. It was like 3, depending. I mean, these are in high traffic areas as well. It's recording every car. But one thing I did talk to Chief about, Deputy Chief, is one thing we may be able to pull off this stuff is traffic counts. We may be able to kind of get some dual use out of them to do some sample analysis, not just the speed deterrents, but how many people are actually coming down Miller Drive at 7:30 in the morning today versus what it's going to look like, in January.
Traffic study type. Yeah.
So, thanks for asking. Good question. And then the other thing I will mention, we are looking at renewing our camera agreement. And one thing that comes along with renewing our cameras is we're looking into dash cams as well. Right now we use a cloud service, and it's pretty expensive to pay for the cloud service that we get with the cameras. We don't have dash cams right now. But we're looking at bringing the data part of it in-house on our own servers. And we're basically going to be able to get the dash cams net zero compared to our current contract, since we're going to be bringing the cloud portion into our environment. And we'll renew those in June of next year at the latest.
How many dashboards we have to?
I don't know how many cars we have. 11, 8, 9. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions? Police? All right, administrator report.
My report was in your packet, and I've got 3 things I'd like to touch on.
In the what page is it? Oh, I'm sorry. I'm
Page 22.
Yep. I'm in October's meeting minutes. Sorry.
The first thing is, this weekend, one of our candidates for the assistant administrator position is coming into town. Friday, he's going to meet with our key staff and professional staff in the afternoon. Saturday morning, I'm going to meet him for breakfast. We're going to
Sunbury Grill.
Yep, I think so. We're gonna have a tour, and then optionally, there's a sign-in sheet if you would like to meet this candidate. I'm trying to keep it to 3 members so we don't have issues of sunshine laws or anything like that. And it's mostly a meet and greet, both for him to learn more of you and you to learn more of him. And then Saturday afternoon, I'll wrap it up with him, and we'll give him some time to explore on his own. And Sunday, he'll head back east.
You have narrowed it down to this gentleman.
There are still a couple candidates, but this is a person that's, he's very qualified and certainly someone that we would like to, before we start to kind of shrink that field too severely, make sure that he has some comfort with the community and the community has some comfort with him.
We may do this with all the candidates.
Yeah. Second item I wanted to mention, Columbia Gas has made the area around the retaining wall safe in terms of turning the gas off at the main. I think that Facemeyer should be in to at least get the old retaining wall out before your next meeting. They'll grade it so that they can come back yet this year and install the retaining wall. And we'll get that project done before the end of the year. I think every contractor, including our paving, had some challenges with about 2 or 3 weeks here of kind of wet weather, so they got a little bit behind on some things, but
So if the gas is gonna be turned off, the water will be turned off in the building?
yeah, we'll have to
So we don't have
winterize
freezing
it.
problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, we know we have to winterize. And it, yeah. The sinkhole was gone. Brad fixed it just yesterday, I think, day before. We are in the process of closing on 75 South Columbus. So, and I'll answer any questions you might have.
No questions? All right, we're on the engineer's report. Thank you, Steve.
Thank you, Mayor. I posted my report to the OneDrive on Monday morning. Just as Steve, I'll just highlight a couple of the items from the report. The Walnut Creek Interceptor Sewer is substantially complete. All the pipe is in, all the manholes are in, and it's undergoing testing. So we're hoping, and I know hoping is not a plan, but we're hoping it'll be done by the end of the month, to where we can start closing up that contract. Fallen Heroes 2 is substantially complete. There is some minor dress up work that has to do along the path. We're hoping that improves some of the ponding water that we've been seeing. It is a low area. It is going to experience some water, but it should be somewhat infrequent and not long term when it happens. Fallen Heroes 3, the plans are substantially complete. Our goal was to advertise for bids in December or January. We will, of course, come to this body for permission to advertise before we do. With the idea being that as soon as spring breaks, we'll start construction on the trail, and maybe this time we'll get it done maybe like before the 4th of July.
And excuse me, I'm sorry, Mr. Parsons. So the phase 3, just for the record and clarification, should be, you see page 23, I believe it's the blue line, right? 610 feet long.
That's correct. And it doesn't quite look like that. That's schematic, just a cartoon to give you an idea of where it is, but it's the southernmost part of the old Orchard Park. And it terminates right there at the Sunbury Meadows detention basin. So phase 4, that's the green line on that map that goes from there out to Sunbury Meadows Drive. We just learned that we will be awarded a grant from Preservation Parks of Delaware County through their county trail improvement grant program of $40,000. We had requested a little more than that, but that was what was left, and so we accepted it. I will work with Steve on getting a proposal together to provide the engineering for that project. My thought is if we can get authorization to begin work on this project, we can get this done by, say, end of January, and then we combine it with phase 3 and we bid the 2 out as a single project.
Yes.
And that'll save bidding a project. It'll save having to manage a second contract. You'll get better prices for having a more substantial project. So I think if we can get some authorization, say in 2 weeks or certainly in 4 weeks to do the design for you, I think that would be our plan. And so we would hold off on bidding phase 3. It wouldn't happen in December or January. It'd probably happen more toward the beginning of February. But we could still have a contractor in place by the end of April. And it's not a big project. There's no big culverts. This is just flat trail on flat ground. It wouldn't take them 6 weeks to build this thing, I don't think. So that's coming. The high school TIS roadway capital improvements programming little effort that we're doing for you is coming together. It's not yet complete. And so we're going to keep working on it, and we'll have more in the weeks to come. We have completed the OPWC application, and we'll be uploading it tomorrow for the 2022 street program. The Reservoirs Projects, there's a couple things going on with the reservoirs. First of all, we're wrapping up our contracts there with Pace Meyer for the walking trail and for the repairs to the gatehouse and things like that. Secondly, we were notified from ODNR that we'll receive a NatureWorks grant for $41,000. And Steve has notified them that we are happy to accept that grant. It's a little less than what we had asked for, but that's what was left. So we took it. That project is to put the fish and pier in the parking lot in a hard surface walk path up to the top of the levees. And so we'll be putting together a proposal to provide those design services for you as well. That's not a very urgent project. And I think you have until 2023 to build it. And I think given that it's probably not in the budget for next year, we would probably want to plan on designing it next year and then constructing it in 2023. I think it makes for a reasonable approach to getting this thing done, but that'll be coming to you here soon. The 2021 street program, they're going to mill starting tomorrow, and then they'll put the pavement back as soon as they can afterwards. So cross your fingers for warm weather and dry weather, and we'll wrap that program up as well. And within your packets, and I forget what page it is, but we prepared a proposal for completing a streetscape standards development package for you for the square. This is I look at this as a starting point. It's to start a conversation. This is a very comprehensive program that our landscape architect put together. Maybe more comprehensive than what you were thinking, but I wanted to present it to you and would ask if you have time to review and provide some feedback so we can get an idea of, are we heading in the right direction, or did we miss it completely? Where do we go, and how do we get to where you feel comfortable being? So that's all I have, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Mr. Perkins?
No, but I just wanted to make sure I'm interpreting your sheet right, Mr. Partington, back to the trails. So the Fallen Heroes Trail, phase 3 and phase 4, for the record, it appears total cost with engineering is about $275,000. And about 33% of that's being paid by the grants, about 90-some thousand. So that leaves our cost, our share, about 185,000 for 3 and 4.
Sounds right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? I just had 3 things. One, Google Maps, Google has an overlay you can put on there for trails. It looks like it's halfway accurate in Sunbury. Can we figure out how to get that updated? I think a lot more people and a lot of other cartographical tools, you use Google Maps as kind of like the source data. And it kind of goes through communities of Sunbury, but it stops right around where the church is. And I know we have continued trails there. And then Fallen Heroes, Sandell Legacy Trail. It delineates between paved and not paved, on road, all that stuff. You guys have probably seen it, but can you guys take a look at that? All right, you're awesome. Thank you. The fishing pier, can you, Steve and Kathy, sync up to see if we can do it next year? Because I talked to Steve a little bit about this and a little bit to Tim about getting it done next year. I think we have some water fund availability. 65,000 out of the whatever.
Yeah, I got the cost here. So I think that's considered to be phase 2. Construction's 162,000, engineering 41,000. Total is 203. NatureWorks grants 40, so our local share 163.
And we have 100. Well, yeah. Could you guys connect on that?
We're happy to do it at whatever schedule you need it.
Yep. Great, thanks. And the streetscape plan, sorry, I didn't ask in services. Can we get a comparative example of what the output would look like? I know you mentioned Franklinton, Kentucky, and another municipality that, ultimately, what's that master plan going to look like at the end of the day? We're familiar with our parks master plan, but yeah. Yep. You can pick and choose.
I can ask for that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. That's all I had. Anything else for Mr. Parkinson? All right, let's roll. Resolutions. None. Ordinances. We do have a third reading. It is tabled. It's ordinance 2021.49, and we are not doing a reading on that. It's still tabled. The second readings were on the first readings. Ordinance number 2022.01, an ordinance setting the 2022 annual appropriations. I briefly looked through the printed packet, and I assume you don't need any action on this tonight. Thank you.
Just take it and look at it.
It's like a 40 pager, 50
Well,
maybe.
it's very comprehensive. I
Okay.
mean, it has everything in it, so if there's questions, problems,
And
and it
this-
is a work in progress because you expect changes.
And I will add that this sort of, Kathy did the very good rough draft and final, well, this isn't final yet, but what she has here sort of sprung out of what Damon and I talked about in the subcommittee finance meeting last night.
Awesome. Thank you. Thanks, guys, for doing that.
It's fun,
It is fun, isn't it?
crunching the numbers.
Right. If you ask the Ohio Municipal League what a council member's responsibility would be, what would be the answer?
Money.
Listening.
No, manage the person. Exactly. Yeah. Manage the finances. Okay. Ordinance number 2021.52. I'm just reading through really quickly. Okay.
4-9.
Pardon me?
So you don't want to read.
It's tabled.
Oh, sorry, I missed that one. Okay, sorry.
Ordinance number 2021.52, an ordinance declaring the improvement to a certain parcel of real property to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment finance equivalent fund, and providing for the collection and deposit of service payments into that fund, specifying the public infrastructure improvements directly benefiting the parcel, and declaring an emergency. And we do not need to pass this, and I'll give context after I read it, unless anybody wants to pause here, but I'll give context into both of these ordinances afterwards. Okay. Ordinance number 2021.53, an ordinance declaring the improvement to a certain parcel of real property to be a public purpose and exempt from taxation, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund, and providing for the collection and deposit of service payments into that fund, specifying the public infrastructure improvements directly benefiting the parcel, and declaring an emergency. And I'll back up a little bit. There are approximately $4 million worth of roadway improvements or additions that need to be done related to the high school and elementary school being built where it's built, and due to the shift in traffic patterns and traffic flows and services covered at a very high level over the past few meetings, the scope of what the traffic impact study generated in terms of output and where improvements are needed. We're getting refined numbers, but it's going to come down to probably $3.5 to $4 million worth of improvements. Originally, we thought it was going to be closer to 2 3/4. Dave Martin, you were involved in some of those discussions with us in the schools, but the short version is it's our responsibility to mitigate the traffic impact regardless. And we need to come up with financing ways to do that, all the while we're still progressing and moving along, repairing our existing streets, repairing our existing infrastructure, investing in parks,
No, I
investing in
haven't, right, because I looked at it.
everything that we do. So what this says in basic terms is there's 2 parcels. It's the 1804 property, which is behind Advanced Auto Parts. It's the white building kind of north of over by Sunbury Estates.
2 white buildings, isn't it?
Correct.
Yeah.
But it's only one that this would actually apply to. And then
Is that the first or the second?
the second one. And then the Newman Roof building, we're also looking to do. And the scope of the improvements is still a work in progress. I'm going to pause there and maybe allow Dave Ream or Steve Piles to chime in.
I think that's very well stated. This would be a 75% of the addition of taxes. When the property is improved, the taxes go up. So basically, we're saying 75% of that increase in taxes is directed into this fund, and that fund will be used for the purpose of all the different list of roadway improvements that we need to make. Again, that's for 10 years. After 10 years, it falls off and it goes away and all the taxes go where they would normally go. So we're looking to implement these as we can to try to do these improvements as they come along and try to keep up with the increased traffic flow. That was part of the discussions we had with the school district. They said, gosh, $4 million. We don't have $4 million to throw to all these improvements. And we're not completely the ones causing it, which we agreed with them. We entered into a cost share for the Miller Drive turn lane, which their engineer thought would be absolutely critical when that new high school opens. So that's done and completed, and we shared in the cost of that. But this is just a continuation of trying to address the infrastructure needs as we continue to grow and the traffic flow continues to increase. So. But this will be a first reading. It's contemplated. We'll have 3 readings on this and potential passage. Then December 1st, notices have gone out to the school board to both schools, National School and the Big Walnut schools.
So even though it says declaring an emergency, we don't need to pass it.
No, we actually, in our notices to them, we said we'd anticipate passing it on December 1st, which would give us the full 3 readings. That emergency will drop off the 30 days. I think we were a little concerned about going into another calendar year because then the tax.
Oh, yeah, no, I understand completely, but I just, yeah.
If you wanted to see the parcels that I was referring to, they're at or around page 80.
Page 75 and page 84.
Yeah, there you go. Those are the parcels. And the services committee, we can share with the broader group the proposed traffic improvements. And it's still a work in progress as to identifying in which order and the sequencing and the amount of money, but high level estimates, we're saying it's going to be around $4 million.
No.
It need to take place no later than 10 years. I would say probably 5. Yeah, 1 to 5.
Do we have a projected amount of revenue from these tips? Or do we have a projected amount? What's the projected?
We have it.
$2,030,000
Okay.
is one, and then the other one is $1.5 million, I believe. Yeah, $1.5 million.
Okay.
What are these?
Those properties will generate a total of $4 million.
That's how many we'll get in the fund. That's how much we'll get in the fund.
That seems high. That seems very, very high. Kathy had mentioned that the improvement amount or what goes towards infrastructure is something like 3 million for one and 1 million for another. That seems very high for the revenue amount.
That sounds like the
the
value
That's
of
the
the
value.
infrastructure.
value.
improvement.
Okay, yeah, not what actually would go towards infrastructure.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the value of the improvement.
Yeah.
Is the 3 and the 1. Yeah. Yeah.
And that makes sense.
That makes sense.
So then the tax value, I mean, $1 million commercial building, think 9,000 a year, 10,000 a year, 12,000 a year, 150 grand for the 1804 over a 15-year period. The other one's going to be 3 times that. So it's about 500 grand between the two, probably. And I'm doing very, very fast, high level, give or take 150 grand.
So that's a chip in the paint of $4 million.
It's about 12% or something.
Yeah, unfortunately, we're 1% income tax. We're rubbing pennies together all the time. You all know that. To be able to keep up, the new development has to be able to contribute their share. Either that or it's going to fall back on the residents. So this is a mechanism that's very commonly used in communities to try to, to bridge that gap, fill that need. So as things come along, we'll do this as available and as needed. We're doing a very similar process out at the freeway with the multifamily out there to help fund the interchange. Now, because that was annexed in from the county actually did the TIF before it came in. And now we're going through the rezoning process on those apartments. But that TIF, again, you're talking a $75 million project there. That's really big money, but you're also talking about an interchange that was $120 million 10 years ago. So bigger need, bigger impact, but the same philosophy.
There's not currently any building on these properties right now.
Well, the one legal description, Cindy, behind the Wendy's, the first building's already built on Miller. And that one did not get TIF'd. That was in the process of having all this information and the studies and there's new school going in and so forth. This is for the subsequent building that'll be just behind it to the east, I guess.
And it's under construction.
Between.
It's under construction.
It's
And
Wendy's.
there's,
That's how the person knows our
Mr. Bream, at what point
white building.
does that first year of a 10-year collection start? When the project has been completed or at what point does that first year of collection come in?
I believe it's when the improvement actually goes on the duplicate. So, and when that will happen, I can't tell you. Taxes are a year behind. So what's being built right now in calendar year 2021 won't be taxed until next year. Tim Newman's building isn't complete yet. It's November, December. Will they do a partial valuation this year? That's a question for the auditor. I don't really know their internal processes for that. If you're all done in a calendar year, normally they'll do that revaluation. And then your taxes go up on the subsequent year, which doesn't get actually taxed and assessed until the year after that. So it's usually there's a little bit of lead time on these things.
Questions? If there are any questions, that would be really normal. This is the first one that I have done since I've been on council.
Before you move on to
Yes, sir.
something else,
Yes, sir.
the gentleman sitting here didn't hear you. He has some hearing issues.
Okay.
And he didn't hear you ask for visitors.
Okay.
So could we hear from him?
Absolutely. We've got through all the first reading of the ordinances. And we're ready to go to new and unfinished business, but I'd like to make a motion to invite a visitor up to speak with us. Would you come up, sir?
I'm sorry.
It's a-
You asked right at the beginning, but you didn't hear you.
That's no problem. We're still figuring out the audio. Do you have a microphone or we can probably hear you? Go ahead.
I live out there on Walnut Street.
Walnut Street, okay?
And I've lived there all my life. But it's in terrible shape. You go down Cherry Street, turn right from there on down this bad. Right there, when you turn, they put a gas line here a few years ago. It's sunk about this deep. There's a big hole right there. You gotta turn right or start coming. Then on down the street, there's 6 or 8 places that's over 5 inches deep. And, I'd like to see something done about it.
Okay.
And also, up here on North Columbus, you got a traffic thing, or speed limit. I'd like to see it put on my street for a while.
Okay. What's your address, sir?
261 South Walnut,
Got it.
And your name?
Larry Dixon. Lived there 80 years.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Larry.
So everybody knows me.
Thank you.
Okay.
We're going to follow up with you after this meeting. How about by early next week, I'll have somebody from the administration reach out to you. And I know the gas line part that you're talking about. But we'll let you know where it falls on our continuous improvement plan and what we can maybe do in the short term, and love to hear your feedback.
All right. I don't expect you to pave the street, but if you just patch some of the holes, I'd be happy.
Right.
All right.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Nice meeting you. All right, we're on to new and unfinished business. Let's go ahead with purchase order 35108, Squire Patton Boggs Legal Services, 14/8/30/05. What is this for?
This is legal services. There's a part of it that is, I don't know how to describe it. They do a filing for us, and since we have bonds, we have to do a municipal filing, and that's the $3,500 that you see on here. Then the Martindale property, they continue to do legal services to help clean that up, and then General Matters is the $5,055. And the general matters was NCA. Hang on, what else was it? Tips. Most of it's the NCA. NCA was the general matters. The 3,500 is my filing
Okay,
that I have to file, and then the Martindale, and then the general matters.
thank you. Do I have a motion for approval? I have a motion for approval. Joe St. John.
Second.
Second by Damon Capel. Discussion? Roll call?
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
David Martin,
Yes.
6 yeas.
On to the next item, Martin Fisher. Martin Fisher submitted his resignation effective today. I just wanted to say on record, it was a pleasure serving with Martin on council. We started the same day and gonna miss him. He's a good guy.
If we refuse to accept his resignation, he's still on council.
I saw a township south of the city recently did that for a different reason, but yeah. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to approve the resignation of Martin Fisher effective 11/3/2021.
I'll second.
Second by Tim Ghost.
Vote no, so.
Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
David Martin.
Yes.
Please.
All right, we're gonna go around the horn real quick. Mr. Elliott,
Good, thank you.
Mr. Ghost.
Yes, regarding services committee, in lieu of Mr. Fisher's resignation, I did, as president pro temp, appoint Joe, Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry, to the services committee to take over his position, Mr. Fisher's position.
And also, did we talk about fire board or would you like me to do it?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Also, Tim has the authority to nominate himself for fire board. And so Tim is going to fill in for the remainder of the year in Martin's primary seat. I think they only have 2 meetings, if I'm not mistaken, the remainder of the year, but we definitely should be represented. And committee assignments will come out again next year.
And I do have a meeting with Chief Kovach tomorrow afternoon, just to pick his brain a little bit.
Thank you, sir. All right. Mrs. Cooper?
Do we have to vote to accept that committee assignment?
I don't
Since
believe so.
Committee assignments were voted on at the start of the year.
We could. I don't know that we need to.
Why just go ahead and do it? I don't think it hurts to. go down on it.
Yeah, I'll make that motion.
A second.
To appoint Tim Ghost as Martin Fisher's replacement on the fire board.
We also second.
On services committee.
And who?
Mr.
Mayor,
Mayor.
Mr. Mayor on the services committee.
Oh, okay. Fine, if you want to.
That's your pleasure.
I just don't want to-
I'll include that in my motion.
All right, thank you.
Here we go again with the.
Second.
Second.
Second by Damon Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
David Martin,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
6 yeas.
Good deal. Mrs. Cooper?
You know what? I don't think I have any new or old business tonight.
None?
No.
Okay.
We're not planning for October or for Halloween
Do
next
you guys
year?
want to trick or treat next?
Yeah. Not planning.
I'm gonna take this meeting off.
Okay. Playing table tennis. Back to Damon Capel. Wanted to switch it up.
I don't have anything tonight.
All right. Mr. Martin.
I don't have anything else to add tonight.
All right.
I will
And I
say, and I said it kind of jokingly earlier, but congratulations to everyone who won their seats in the elections, both here and on the school board. So congratulations.
I do want to say, this is where I was kind of thinking about the words. I also want to recognize just folks that put their name in the hat. As many people know, this is not necessarily it's a thankless position for the most part. Where we pay for it is, time with our family and other community activities, but it is important work. And I don't mean just city council. I mean, all the folks, township trustees, the school officers, all the different boards and commissions. So thank you to everybody who ran and good luck to those who won.
I've been working for the Board of Elections for the past 2 months. And we had an interesting conversation yesterday because voter turnout in Delaware County was right around 30%. In the presidential election, it was in the 85% range. And the thing that amazes us at the Board of Elections is the people who have the most direct impact on people's lives are the local elected officials.
Exactly right.
And people just kind of let it happen. And it's kind of a sad situation that people don't take a bigger, greater interest in who their elected representatives are in this level. So, but I'm glad to be part of the team.
Yes, sir. We are glad to have you. All right. And I think there's a need for just kidding.
No executive session.
Pick what you kid about a little more.
Does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, that bill here.
To adjourn?
Yeah,
Make the motion to adjourn.
a motion by Mr. Elliott,
Second.
second by Tim Ghost. The Planning and Zoning Commission, it's like, I mean, it is as fast as you can say. It's Rick Riva, Joe Gokenhour, ready to make the motion.
Let's go.
All right.
Then we're
Discussion.
out.
Roll call.
Rick Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Jimmy Capel,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
David Martin.
Yes.